Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. It's Christian, so excited and honored to have you here as always. So thanks so very much for tuning in. In this episode, we're talking about networking basics for your Reiki business. Now, when you hear the word networking, do you cringe a little? Does your nervous system contract a bit? Do you feel a little like, ooh, I don't like that word? Maybe it's too salesy. Maybe it feels uncomfortable. Maybe it feels anti-Reiki or anti-spiritual. If so, I get it. I totally get where you are coming from because I was there too. Many years ago, before I was a Reiki business owner, before I was a Reiki practitioner, I also had the idea that networking was salesy, that it was something that people did in order to sell things, in order to take advantage of people, in order to just use car sales kinds of tactics. But over the years, as my exposure to networking grew, as I began to teach networking as well, and as I started and grew my own Reiki business, I realized that networking is not actually about selling. I realized that networking is not such a bad thing. Networking gets a bad rap, and probably you, like me, have some wrong impressions of networking and what it's all about. And so in this episode, I'm sharing networking basics. Three things about networking that I think will really help you on your Reiki business journey. Three realizations about networking that really helped me on my Reiki business journey. Number one, for our networking basics for our Reiki business. Number one is that networking is not selling. We really so often view networking as a sales thing, that networking is all about selling. That's what it's all about. You network in order to make sales, right? Actually, not when it is done effectively. So when you think of networking, you probably picture or think of things like elevator speeches, the elevator pitch. You maybe think of business cards and handing them out to anyone and everyone you can. You may think of picking up the phone and calling up businesses to collaborate with. You may even think of just seeing someone on the street and saying, "Hi, I'm a Reiki practitioner. I can help you with that." No matter what the that is. But networking is not itself selling. And so, yes, networking can lead to sales. I'll talk more about that, of course, but networking is not itself selling. And so that may really help you on your Reiki business journey to realize that when we network, when we do it effectively, at the heart of networking is not selling. And it's not all about the sale. Selling is oftentimes much more direct, much more, here's my thing, would you like to buy it? And networking is based more on creating connections and building relationships. And so if you have, like I used to, the belief that networking is selling and it therefore makes you feel sleazy or slimy or you have a negative reaction to it and it just doesn't feel good, I want to encourage you that changing the way that you approach networking can indeed help you to feel much more positive about it when we realize what it's really all about. So, number one, networking is not selling. Can it lead to sales? Absolutely. But in and of itself, networking is not about selling. Number two, networking is about relationships. Networking is all about relationships. At the center of networking is creating and building relationships. So, on our Reiki business journey, relationship building is so very important for our Reiki business. And as a Reiki practitioner, you are probably already pretty good at building relationships. You already probably care about people and you already are probably someone who is a giver, someone who gives, someone who cares about others, someone who wants to serve. It's probably one reason why you want or have a Reiki business in the first place. And so, with that idea of networking being salesy, you may take heart in a probably not so salesy kind of person, that it is not about sales, it is indeed about relationships. Many of us as Reiki practitioners are not comfortable with sales. Many of us feel a little icky about sales and selling. And so, good news. Networking is about relationships, and my guess is that probably you can do relationships. So, networking can feel salesy whenever we are talking with people and building relationships, and then we start steering the conversation back to our services. It can feel salesy whenever we reach out to others only when we need something. Or it can feel salesy if we start engaging in discussions already wondering about whether or not it will lead to a client. And so this kind of approach turns networking into something that is transactional, something where it feels like you have to get something out of it, or it's not working, or it's not worth it. But networking at its heart is not meant to be transactional. It's meant to be relational. And so, what this can look like in our Reiki business is sharing other people's work. It can look like making introductions. It can look like referring clients and potential clients and students to other practitioners who might be a better fit or who offer services or classes that we don't. It can look like commenting on other practitioners' posts, videos, or whatever they might be. And it can look like having conversations just for connection's sake without thinking about whether or not this person will become a potential client or student or will refer someone who will be. The way that this shows up in my Reiki business is just having conversations, talking with people about where they are on their Reiki journey, asking them about their Reiki business, sharing my vast vault of resources, all of these podcast episodes, all of the videos, the articles, and everything, connecting them with other practitioners in their area, or just going out for coffee with another practitioner or like-minded kind of person. Because when we have a business, it might feel like everything should be about sales. When we have a Reiki business, it feels like all of our interactions should be geared towards whether or not the people we're talking to will become clients or students or might refer clients and students. But this is not the case. Just because you have a Reiki business doesn't mean that everything has to end in a sale or that that has to be the end point. And as a matter of fact, it shouldn't be. Not everyone is a good fit for our services or our classes. Maybe we might not want to work with everyone that we meet, but we also don't have to approach all of our interactions with that pressure or that question underlying all of our interactions. To me, that sounds pretty transactional. And when every interaction feels like it has to go somewhere or lead to something, including and particularly, quote, the sale, then it stops being about connection and it's all about what we can get from that person. And I don't know about you, but that feels pretty icky to me. I think it feels icky for the person who picks up on that and realizes that they're in the course of the conversation, the person we are interacting with, and it feels icky to us. Well, to me, it does to enter into every conversation thinking, what can I get out of this person? Can I get them to buy? Can I get them to refer? No way. That truly does feel pretty gross. And so when we approach networking from a place of relationship building and putting the focus on the building of relationships rather than any transaction that might occur, then it can feel so much easier, so much more natural. It can flow so much better. There's no pressure. There's no pressure on us, and there's no pressure on the person we're connecting with because the connection is so much more genuine and real and authentic. And we all want authentic connections. And so, as we are thinking about networking in our Reiki business, as we're considering building relationships, we might come across the feeling of a fear of visibility. Let's name that, let's call that out, let's be real about it, right? That many of us have fears about being visible. Me too. Even after all of these years, me too. And we may want to stay hidden. We may not want to put ourselves out there. And if that's you, I want to encourage you that that is completely and totally appropriate when it comes to networking. There may be the belief, you may be feeling like, oh no, if I'm going to network, I really have to be visible. Everyone has to see me. I have to be visible. I have to really put myself out there. Yes, we do need to put ourselves out there, but the putting ourselves out there can be one person at a time because that's really how we build relationships is one person at a time. And so if you too are nervous about putting yourself out there and being visible, and when you hear the word networking, you get nervous about that visibility, I want to encourage you that there's no need to be big in terms of the visibility, that oftentimes the best networking, the most effective networking, the most authentic and powerful and fulfilling networking is on a small scale. It's one on one, it's in quiet conversations, it's in sitting down for coffee or tea. And so rather than focusing on being visible in your networking, I want to encourage you to consider being valuable instead. So instead of worrying about connecting with everyone, to focus instead on how you can bring value to the people in your life, the people who you already know, and how you can bring value to new people who you might like to get to know. And for many of us on our Reiki business journey, those of us who maybe don't want to be really visible, it's a lot more comfortable for us to focus on bringing value rather than being visible. So to focus on being valuable rather than visible. How to do that? Again, through things like sharing people's work, making introductions, referrals, all of those things. These are great ways to offer value and to foster connections, to build relationships rather than to worry about transactions and if each conversation is going to lead to a ka-ching of the cash register. And number three in the networking basics is that networking takes time. Networking takes time. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to get to know people and for people to get to know you. So often, networking is viewed as us going out and asking people if they know anyone who needs Reiki or can you refer anyone who wants Reiki? And we are putting our business cards out there everywhere. We are asking people, we're having conversations, we're letting people know that we're Reiki practitioners. So why? Why are the referrals not coming in? Why am I not getting clients? Why are people not talking about my services? You may have a client who's had a really positive experience, and you might expect them to go tell all of their friends. And maybe even the client has said to you, "This is amazing. I have a friend who would love this too. I'm going to send my friend to you." And then you never hear from them and you never hear from the friend. This happens all of the time, and we can think that there's something wrong with us, but there's nothing wrong with you. When it comes to the referral piece, so often we might have clients who have a great experience and we believe that they're going to tell all of their friends, all of their family, and we're going to have a flood of clients. But when they leave the session, they're getting in their car, they're driving away. Maybe they get a phone call from their mom who needs them to pick up something at the store on the way home. Maybe they're getting a call from their child's school saying, "Oh, your kid is sick. Come pick your kid up at school." Maybe they're getting a call from the doctor who is saying, "Oh, your test results are in." And then they're worrying about the test results. And then they're thinking, "Oh, that's right. I have to call the pharmacy to make sure they got the order for the medication and see if it's filled yet. And oh, that's right. I need to call the vet for the dog." Just on and on and on. Life gets in the way. Between their really positive experience at the Reiki session and walking out the door, there's a lot of life that's going to happen after that. And so that means that they can forget. They probably will forget that you and your session are not going to be constantly on their mind because they've got lots of other things going on. And so that's one reason why referrals don't come immediately like we think they will. But another reason is that they come from trust. They come from trust. And we might believe that if people know what we do, including if they have had a positive experience, they should send clients. But people send clients when they trust you, when they understand what you do and who you help. They refer others when they've had a really positive benefit and remember. They refer when you are showing up consistently. They send referrals when you feel safe, when you are a safe person. When you build trust slowly over time, as trust is built, you get more and more referrals in your Reiki practice. I know I've seen this in my own Reiki business. I get referrals all the time where I'll have someone who says, "Oh, my teacher told me to connect with you." And I say, "Oh, who's your teacher?" And they tell me their teacher's name, and I have no idea who that person is. That's the kind of referral that builds up over time. That's the kind of referral that is based on relationship building. And that relationship building is not a one and done kind of thing. It takes years. And so I really want to encourage you that if you are running into a challenge with referrals, with quote, networking, there's got to be a better word for it, right? Connecting. Um, and you're not seeing the results from it and you feel like it's not working, I really want to encourage you that it takes time. It truly takes time. Trust takes time. Relationship building takes time. And that means that seeing the results of those networking efforts takes time. In our Reiki business, we get referrals because of who we are and how we show up. We get referrals because we stick around long enough to get them. This episode isn't about referrals, it's about networking. But referrals happen when we invest in networking and we invest in creating and building relationships. And so when it comes to networking, I really want to encourage you to consider it in terms of a relationship practice, in terms of making authentic connections, in terms of showing up consistently in valuable and helpful ways. Really good networking is about being a good person, listening, and caring. And because you are starting and growing a Reiki business, my guess is that probably you're a good person. Probably you are caring. Probably you want to help people. And if we bring that energy to our networking, to our conversations and relationship building, we can't mess it up. The only thing we really need to do is to keep showing up and to wait long enough to realize the results of that relationship building, that trust building. Now, if you are interested in learning more about networking, about how to create connections with other practitioners, potential clients and students, and anyone else you might want to build relationships with, we're talking about networking at the live online Reiki Business Summit this April 18th and 19th. Because at the live online Reiki Business Summit, Pam Allen LeBlanc and Tracy Seawright are joining us to talk all about networking. They're sharing their tips and strategies for making connections that will benefit your Reiki business years into the future. Now, networking is just one discussion taking place during that transformative weekend, April 18th and 19th. We're also talking about topics like attracting clients, starting and growing a distance Reiki business, and how to start a Reiki business with inspiring and uplifting stories, practical strategies, and so much encouragement for clarity on the next step of your Reiki business journey. Did I mention there's also plenty of time for networking? Learn more and join us at ReikiBusinessSummit.com. You can see the full schedule, learn more about Pam and Tracy, and all of the other speakers, and save your seat for this impactful, empowering weekend live online. Register now at ReikiBusinessSummit.com. Well, of course, as always, I'm sending so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. And of course, sending so many blessings and best wishes to your networking, to your connecting, indeed, to your relationship building. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.